Welcome to the 7th podcast of this series, brought to you by Physical and Health Education Canada, that outlines important education principles that support teachers to foster the development of physical literacy amongst students. My name is Ishan Angra, and I will be the host for today's podcast. The podcast was developed by the Centre for Healthy Development through Sport and Physical Activity at Brock University, located in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on behalf of PHE Canada and Sport Canada. Individuals who are physically literate move with competence in a wide variety of physical activities that benefit the development of the whole person. Quality physical education programs provide one of the most effective ways to foster the development of physical literacy amongst children and youth. Over the past few months, we have been examining various teaching strategies that educators can consider when fostering the development of physical literacy amongst their students. Using the acronym EDUCATION, we have examined one teaching strategy per podcast that highlights important pedagogical strategies that can help teachers implement a quality physical education program with physical literacy in mind. In today's podcast, the I in education will be our focus. In our education acronym, the I stands for imagination. Imagination is related to the development of students' creativity. Physical education is ideally positioned to foster the development of creativity by students using their imagination to solve movement problems across a variety of movement forms. Although creative learning has traditionally been limited to gymnastics or dance, other movement forms such as games, fitness, and outdoor activities can also stimulate students' imaginations and enable them to express critical and creative solutions. Jim Lavin presents an approach of how to promote creativity through physical education. According to Lavin, developing students' imaginations not only improves self-esteem and motivation, but also promotes students' behavior while encouraging them to discover new things for themselves. Through imagination, students develop skills that enable them to be open to more new ideas, to be willing to work through these new ideas, and even be willing to work beyond the lesson time to improve development. According to Lavin, the characteristics of creative thinking and behavior includes questioning assumptions, making inventive connections, associating things that are not usually related, trying out new approaches for solving a problem, and reflecting critically on ideas and actions. Studies have shown that by fostering and encouraging student imagination, students find creative ways to promote inclusiveness. Examples include developing new equipment and new rules into their games in order to accommodate special needs that some students may require. In order to illustrate how student imagination can be fostered through games, the following video presents a model of creating new games presented by Dr. Joy Butler from the University of British Columbia and her colleagues. The model uses the Teaching Games for Understanding approach, which places the learner in the center of the learning process, as presented previously in the Understanding podcast. Like TGFU's original model, this process has 6 steps. Before the process is started, the class is divided into small groups in order to promote everybody's ideas, resulting in the creation of several different games. Teachers may choose to use a stimulus to invoke students' imaginations. In step 1, a game is established as a starting point and a democratic discussion process is initiated. Teachers should ensure that each student's voice in the process is both respected and heard. For example, teachers may set a rule that all students in their group must all agree before moving into the next step. The game presented by the teacher as a starting point is called Tossing Circle. In this game, the students place a hula hoop on the ground and start walking around the hula hoop, tossing a tennis ball to the teammate behind them. This is a cooperative game, where each team is trying to toss the ball as many times without dropping the ball on the floor. At first, the students experience the game as presented by the teacher, so that they can discuss what they like and do not like. In step 2, the first version of the game is defined by the students, and they should have the opportunity to play and experience what they like and what they do not like about it. In this example, the students discuss what the appropriate modifications in order to make the game more challenging and enjoyable would be. At first, students are encouraged only to introduce 1 or 2 modifications. This enables them to evaluate what the appropriate modifications of the game should be. Students are allowed to modify the game's structure by changing its rules, skills, and even the equipment. Teachers should also ensure that everyone in the group agrees on the modifications in order to ensure democratic decision-making. In Step 3, the students refine the game with another round of discussion, promoting everyone's creative ideas and opinions. In this example, the students have the opportunity to make another round of modifications based on what they experienced during their first adjustments. By introducing more new ideas, the students' games will become even more different than the one initially presented by the teacher. After discussing the new modifications, the students should have the opportunity to play their newly invented game. In Step 4, the students define coaches and officials to support the development of the game. This step may not be necessary in every process. However, for more elaborate games, students should be encouraged to establish coaches and referees to support the players that might need assistance with a game that they have not experienced before. The teacher should observe the students and notice if this step is required. In Step 5, each group of students explains their game to the rest of the class, and everyone has the opportunity to experience each group's creation. In this example, each group of students show their game to the rest of the class so that everybody has the opportunity to experience each group's creation, while also learning about new ideas and modifications. After learning and experiencing the game presented by another group, the whole class will have the opportunity to give their contribution to the game by suggesting new modifications or telling the group what they liked or did not like about the new invented game. In the last step of the process, a final round of discussion defines and refines the skills and strategies of each game, receiving everybody's ideas. In this final example, students are provided with an opportunity to modify their game for the last time after hearing their peers' opinions. Students will once again discuss if it would be appropriate to modify the game and play its final version. Once all 6 steps are completed, a new process can be started. Once again, through the use of encouraging students to use their imaginations, students' creativity is promoted within a democratic atmosphere. During the whole process, the development of the learner's creativity is the center of the process. Dance and rhythmic movement are also effective forms of movement that can promote the development of creativity through student imagination. According to Pengrazi and Gibbons, children can express moods and feelings and show reaction to colors and sounds by improvising dances and movements that demonstrate different aspects of force or gestures that depict different feelings. According to the authors, creative dance and rhythmic movement may promote understanding of different moving concepts, which include body awareness, which relates to the selection of which body parts are used, what actions are made with it, and what kind of body shapes are performed, such as curled, stretched, narrow or wide, and twisted body shapes, which may not be used as much in other physical activities. Space awareness, which relates to the levels, high or low, directions, forwards, backwards, or sideways, and pathways that students may perform while dancing. Dynamics, which includes concepts of time, such as fast or slow, and accelerate or decelerate. Energy, strong or light, and flow, free and held, which provide the opportunity of diverse combinations supporting the creativity in dance. And finally, relationships with others, equipment, and rhythm, which can create different scenarios. Creative dance should be planned. It is not just a matter of free exploration. Creative dance offers a unique opportunity to combine cognitive, affective, and motor development. The following video illustrates the use of student imagination to develop creative dancing in physical education classes. The following 6 steps, developed by Pengrazi and Gibbons, are effective ways to invoke imagination and in turn help develop creativity while dancing. The first step is perceiving the stimulus, where a challenge is introduced through observation or brainstorming. This lesson was presented by Dr. Nancy Francis at Brock University. In this class, friendship was chosen as the theme, and so students explored all aspects of friendship, including positive and negative experiences. In the first part of the video, students are given time to discuss what friendship means to them. This is followed by a discussion where students are encouraged to come up with words that may represent friendship. By encouraging student imagination, the teacher uses a brainstorming session to write each word that students suggest has a feeling or emotion as it relates to friendship. Students are then encouraged to come up with actions that may represent their feelings. Finally, the teacher chooses a few verbs or actions for the students to work on. The second step is discover and exploration. At this point, the teacher should look for an expansion of the movement vocabulary, using exploratory movements to find many possible solutions, different kinds of solutions, original or unique solutions, and extension of solutions. In this example, the students are grouped into partners and start exploring the different possible actions that were discussed in step 1. The teacher reinforces the idea that the action should be the expression of emotions, which are related to feelings that may occur in a friendship. At first, the students are asked to sit down in order to start the process without using parts of their body, and therefore start very simply. The exploration starts with only 2 movements, pushing and pulling. Later on, the students may select other actions that were written on the board. It is important to notice that in order to reinforce their creativity and exploration of movements, the students were asked not to touch each other so that they would have more freedom of their body. The third step is selection. Once the students have explored different solutions, they must evaluate and select their favorite option, searching for a creation while problem-solving their initial challenge. The fourth step is combination. Sequential or rhythmical patterns are created with a combination of selected movements that must be in constant evaluation, and reselected or reordered to find a desirable creation. The following video demonstrates both steps 3 and 4. After exploring different movements, the students start to select their favorites in order to create their representation of emotions that symbolize friendship. As students start to select the movements, they also start to combine other movements together. At this point, students are not only selecting their actions, but also how they are interpreted. The movement concepts become crucial to develop the quality of the dance sequence creation. With respect to body awareness, students must not only select which body parts will be used, but also what kind of actions they will perform with. With respect to spatial awareness, students will select the different levels, directions, and pathways. With respect to the dynamics or effort qualities used throughout the dance, the students select if their movements will be fast or slow, strong or light, free or held. And finally, with respect to relationships, each student will have to choose how he or she will relate to his or her partner. Although student exploration is encouraged and promoted, the teacher's feedback is primordial to ensure that the students are using diverse possibilities. The fifth step is refinement. Once the most effective sequence is developed, the student refines the development by checking if the performance has a beginning, an action sequence, and a conclusion. In this example, after selecting and combining different movements, students start to refine their sequence by practicing a few times. This can take the form of peer or self-evaluation. Students are assessing the quality of a strong beginning, an action sequence, and a strong conclusion. The sixth and the final step is the performance, where the dance may be performed for others, such as classmates, parents, and teachers. At last, students are ready to show their performance to their classmates. By using students' imagination to develop creative solutions to a variety of movement problems and scenarios, students become more confident, motivated, and interested in discovering new things, being more open to new ideas, and being willing to work with others within an inclusive environment. Tune into our next podcast, where we will explore the next strategy from our education acronym, Ongoing. In that podcast, we will explore the importance of providing students with opportunities to be physically active on an ongoing basis, both within the school environment and outside.